Well, here we are again. Same old problems, same old Celtics, another embarrassing loss at home. And I'm going to talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
I'm so hyped right now. Anything's possible. I'm a mother. I'm a mom lady, ma. Anything's possible.
Rain J's back with the vengeance. All the real Celtics fans in attendance. This the truth like 34. This like walking in the garden when you hear the roars. The crowd goes crazy. Most in-depth coverage on the daily. Mainly podcast royalty, the content kings. When you talking about the franchise with 17 rings. Focus like Danny at the deadline. Global, but it got a local feel like the red line, the blue line, the green line. Play it in between time. I'ma throw my C's jersey on in the meantime and press play. When the F's done, I can't wait until the next day. Trying to stay in tune with the C's, that's the best way. Melly.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, and thank you for making this show your first listen every single day and part of your daily routine Monday through Friday. Remember, Locked On Celtics is free, available everywhere, all platforms, including YouTube, and on LockedOnCeltics.com if you want to catch any past episodes of the podcast. I am John Karalis. I cover this infuriating team for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars, which you can now get everywhere books are sold online. The Boston Celtics lost to the Washington Wizards 116-107. This was another game where effort and energy were an issue in front of the home fans again, which should be embarrassing. Guys should be embarrassed to look at this crowd, to stand in front of this crowd and put forth this sort of effort. They should be embarrassed by this. This is 2 games now. The Toronto Raptors game, all right, we can maybe say that was an aberration. Off a 2 overtime game, blah, blah, blah. We've talked about that before. All right, fine. We want to say that's an aberration? I can buy that. Now here we are again. Knowing that you've just come off a stinker at home, the Celtics come into this game against the Washington Wizards and kind of stink again. I don't understand it. And I'll be honest with you, the people that were speaking after the game, Ime Udoka, Al Horford, Dennis Schroeder, Jason Tatum, they all seem confused as well. Especially Al Horford, and Ime Udoka to a certain degree as well. Celtics came out and scored 19 points in the first quarter. It was god-awful. Just a god-awful performance. They managed to score 33 in the second quarter, but they gave up 38. Where's the defense? Then they step it up in the third, make a nice run at the end of the third. Great. And then in the fourth quarter, they looked at it. This is the way this game went. And part of why the Celtics were so maddening here is because they would make this run and be like, okay, we've done enough. Like they do just enough to make you think, oh, okay, they're going to do it. And then they pull back. Cut a 10-point lead down to 3, no problem. And then 3-point game, all right, good enough. We're close. We think we can win. And they don't. 58 points in the paint they gave up to the Washington Wizards. They gave up 20 points off of turnovers. They gave up 51 points to the Wizards bench, mostly Montrezl Harrell. When we talk about getting punked, when Ime said after the Raptors game they came out and they punked us, Montrezl Harrell was punking the Celtics. 25 points on 10 of 13 shooting. 25 points for Trez, who we know is an offensive player. And he just did whatever he wanted. Literally whatever he wanted, he got to do. The Celtics couldn't stop him, except for maybe like Rob for a little bit. But it's tough to watch this team do this over and over and over again. Al Horford after the game was like crestfallen. And if he's the team dad, then the things that he said after the game were very, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed, which we all know is worse. That's worse. Whenever you hear that from somebody, an authority figure, and they go, "Oh, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed." It's like, no, 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 no. I'd rather have you be mad. And I've talked to Al Horford a ton after losses. I mean, we spent multiple seasons covering Al Horford in Boston. And after every loss, it's, we're going to watch film. We're going to, we'll get back in practice. We're going to fix a few things. Yeah, I thought we did this or that wrong, but we could, watch some film and we'll put it together. Very professional. Al Horford is a professional. And he would come out after all of these types of, losses that, hey, you're a fan. You live and die with this team. Every win is an indication of, oh, wow, they're going to be so great. And every loss is, oh, my God, they suck. Trade everybody. Players don't ride that roller coaster that same way. They don't. We hear it all the time. We heard it for multiple years with Brad Stevens. The don't get too high, don't get too low, don't ride that roller coaster during the season. You got to stay even keeled. A loss is a loss, and you just got to put it behind you and all of that stuff. I understand that. That's all fine. However, I do think that in this one, Al Horford was very clearly upset. His volume, the volume of his voice was very low. When you're upset and you just come in, you're like, oh man, I can't believe this was, man, what happened out there? Like that tone of voice, that thing, that's what Al Horford sounded like. When he first started talking, I was like, did he lose his voice? What's going on over here? He was very much shaken by this loss. I think that's the thing. He was shaken by this loss. When I asked, we started asking questions, and I asked him right away. I was like, you seem to be taking this loss pretty hard. Is this a tough one to swallow? He goes, yeah, it is. And he went on to say things like, the effort is not something we should be questioning. The energy is not something that we should be questioning, which is something I've been saying for a long time. Yes, absolutely, 100%. This effort, this energy, this level is not something that we should be questioning at all, because it should exist on a regular basis. Now, I'm not going to say that every single night should be balls to the wall in the NBA, because it's an 82-game season, and there's always going to be a stinker of a game. That is 100% true. That's just how it's going to be. But the Celtics should not be consistently putting forth these sorts of efforts. This is not, it's not hard to go out there and try. And I've said this same exact thing so often, but on a night-to-night basis, to go out there and just look, we're going to put forth the effort. We're going to try to do what we do best, and we'll see where things go. And some nights, some guys don't have it. Not a problem. That's really not a problem. Okay, I'll talk about Jaylen Brown in a minute. But the Jaylen having an off night, okay. Now, Jaylen's had a couple of off nights, and that's going to be something. Ime said something that I got to address. But a guy having an off night, a guy having a 9-4 whatever shooting night, like Tatum had 9 for 22 shooting night. All right, 1 for 8 from 3. I'm not going to beat him up over it. It's tough shooting night. Who else didn't shoot well? Marcus Smart. Well, he always has a tough shooting night. But any other guy that has a tough shooting night is okay. If it happens every once in a while, you're going to have cold streaks. That's the nature of the game. But the Celtics keep doing this over and over and over again. Bad teams. Another thing that Ime Udoka said, respecting your opponents. You got to respect your opponents. Yeah, he seems very forthcoming. That's the one thing about Ime is he doesn't hold back. he's the anti-Brad when it, in that respect, because he lays it all out there. He said the other day in the Charlotte game, yeah, we're gonna try to pick on Ball. And if we couldn't pick on LaMelo Ball, we're gonna pick on Gordon Hayward, and that was kind of like amazing. He's forthcoming, and in this one, he said flat out, you got to respect your opponent more. He's saying the Celtics don't respect their opponents, which says that this is just an entitled team. They think that they have earned something that they haven't earned. This team hasn't earned a damn thing. Tatum, yeah, all NBA, great. Whatever, expectations, great. We talk about you in the MVP conversation, great. But you haven't earned anything. I don't care how many conference finals you've gone to. That was great in the moment, but that doesn't do a damn thing now. The NBA's motto should forever be, what have you done for me lately? That's what the NBA's motto is. It's a constant prove it league. If you can't prove it on a daily basis, on a regular basis, guess what's going to happen? Gone. The league passes people by all the time. Life moves fast in the NBA. You go from contender to also ran in a heartbeat. And if you think you're something special and you haven't proved it recently, then guess what? You're nothing special. You're just somebody living in the past. I feel like that's what the Celtics are. Somehow they're living in the past, and all of these past things that they've done, they feel like they can walk out there and be like, hey, Washington, guess what? We're the Celtics. Look at me. Well, yeah, who gives a crap about who you are? And they just keep on doing it. So what's next? They've been doing this for so long that they've built these bad habits. Guess who that's on to fix? Ime Udoka. And I'm going to talk about that and the whole Jaylen Brown thing and how this is on Ime Udoka to fix. That is coming up next. First, I got to tell you about rockauto.com, which is the place to go for anything you need for your car, truck, motorcycle, RV, anything with an engine. Basically, you could probably find the parts at rockauto.com. Definitely if you need something for your car, regardless of how complicated or how simple it is, you can go to rockauto.com. Don't bother going to the chain store at the strip mall because you're just going to give them the same information you can be entering into Rock Auto. And then what you'll find is whatever is on those shelves at the chain store is the only thing they're going to offer you. If you go to rockauto.com, you're going to save 30 to 50 to even 100% on some parts at a chain store or a car dealership. I have messaged with people. People have sent me messages saying, thank you for telling me about Rock Auto. I saved $300 on a part. I've saved hundreds of dollars on a part. So you can check it out no matter how simple. I'm going to go, but I need new wipers. We're heading into the winter soon. I definitely need new high-end heavy-duty wipers for my car. And I'm going to Rock Auto to save myself some money on that. But whatever it is, go check it out. When you do buy something, make sure you're writing Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box. That's the only way they know that we sent you. So make sure you write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box. It's an amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. BetOnline is back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head on over to the new updated website or mobile website and sign up today. Get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Use the promo code Locked On to get your bonus. From basketball, football, to the World Series, which is going on right now, hockey, boxing, UFC, and your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. Hey, thanks for making the Locked On Celtics podcast your first listen every day. Why don't you make your second listen one of the other Boston sports Locked On shows? Red Sox, Bruins, Patriots. There's one for all your favorite teams if you're a Boston sports fan. Check them out wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. I'm going to continue my rant here about the Boston Celtics loss to the Washington Wizards, 116-107 again. Look, this is an embarrassing loss, but not embarrassing because the Wizards are bad. The Wizards can be good. They're 3-1. And as much as we might have clowned the trade at the time, it's right now it's working for them. Trez had a big game. KCP hit some shots. I mean, he was good. Kuzma didn't. He had, didn't have much of a shooting night. But hey, this could work in Washington. They're a decent team, right? They're showing that they're a decent team. They're not a floor mat in the East. Okay, good for them. And losing to them is not the thing. It's not like you lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder, which, by the way, the Lakers did tonight. The Lakers lost to the Thunder. So it's not like that. I think the Lakers led by 23 or 26 in that game. That's really embarrassing. This was embarrassing because the Celtics just didn't show up at first, that they consistently make these same kind of issues. And look, as I wrote in my post-game piece for Boston Sports Journal, this falls squarely on Ime Udoka now. He's the new thing here. It's Tatum and Brown and Smart are the core. They've been here, and there are other guys around them now. But this is new for Ime Udoka, and this is what you wanted, right? This is what you came to do. You want to change the culture. You want to put your stamp on things. Here you go. Here you go. And this is a big crossroads in a way that we didn't expect 5 games in to the season, because again, it's not that they lost. Okay, you can have tough losses. You can say, hey, we went out there, we tried to execute our defensive plan. We made some mistakes, some miscommunications. I would sit here and gladly say, all right, look, this was a loss, but on Saturday, this could be a win, or in 2 months, this could be a win once they clean some of these things up. But this wasn't a clean some of things up loss. They could still win on Saturday if they come out and they try, but this was a loss where it was mainly effort based. And so for Ime Udoka to come in here, like you wanted to put your stamp on this team, you've now got to take these guys and break them of this habit. He said it after the game, that this is a habit that we have to break. He said it flat out. And he said, he said a lot of things in this, but he called it in shoot around. And he said that he saw it early on and told the guys that they were going to get their ass kicked if they continued to keep this, this energy. He says right here, we were lacking in intensity and focus this morning. I told them you're going to get your ass kicked tonight if you come in with that focus in the game. And for 3 quarters, we played the same way. We waited till we got down 15 to start play with effort that we played with in the other 4 games. It's disappointing. That says a lot. And Ime is, look, you can only do so much, I think. Like, you're there, it's a shoot around, and you see the energy, and he's like, hey, look, I'm telling you, you guys got to wake up. You guys better wake up, or we're going to get our asses kicked. And they come in, and they still don't do it. So now it's on Ime to start enforcing some rules. Like, this is a defining moment. It's an early defining moment in his coaching career. It's not going to be the thing, I don't think, that we remember him for the most when it's all said and done. But right now, 5 games into his NBA coaching career, he has a team here that has now twice come out and crap themselves in front of a home crowd with a lack of energy. Again, we can say, hey, Toronto, that was a little bit different. Maybe that's an aberration. But this is not. And I know Ime wasn't here before, but this that we're seeing is the same stuff that we've been seeing. So there's plenty of history here. And maybe he and Brad Stevens can sit down and he can be like, hey, is this as bad as the media has been saying? Because he came in, I don't know what he was expecting, but he got grilled pretty good, I think, for this, the loss, the lack of energy. And as soon as he started with I knew it was coming, then it really started to come down. Like in his first answer, he was asked, they scored a lot of points in the paint. He says, too many of our, or wait, here it is. Things we've been working on and harping on just didn't show tonight. We have a guy standing on the opposite block and he doesn't take a step and someone lays it up. Lack of effort, focus, help defense was very poor tonight. It's like, oh, well, how do we do this? And he said in his third answer, he said, honestly, in shoot around, I got on them pretty good for the lack of focus. So all of a sudden it was just like, whoa, wait a minute. You saw this in shoot around? And then it goes on and on and on. Like he got questions about it. Schroeder, Horford, Tatum got questions about it. And they answered it to varying degrees. It's now up to Ime Udoka to change this narrative, to change this kind of progression for the Celtics. I don't want to make this sound like an overreaction because some people do overreact to this is game 5 and oh my God, this team sucks or whatever. That's not what this is. This is a bad behavior, just like, and I hate to put it this way because these are grown men we're talking about, but it is like parenting and you see a bad behavior in a child and you want to stop that bad behavior before it becomes repetitive bad behavior. That makes it harder to stop. These are already bad habits that the Celtics have. This is going to be harder for Udoka to stop no matter what. But now here he is in his first opportunity to do so. And this is a chance to really lay the hammer down. He has to go in there. Look, he comes from the Greg Popovich coaching tree. He comes from a lineage that starts with a guy who does not give a single F out there, right? Popovich has benched his entire starting 5. Like, you guys don't have it? Sit on down. I'm going to play guys who want to play. And you know what? That wouldn't be so bad. If Udoka said, you know what? It's the second quarter. We're down 15 again. We're down 20. You know what? I'm done with this. I'm done with this. Everybody sit down. You're done for the night. Take your shoes off. Take your tape off. We're going with these guys. Peyton Pritchard, you're playing the next 30 minutes. I don't give a damn. Sam Hauser, get ready. Because we're going to go with the guys who are going to try. And if you're going to go out there and think, hey, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get away with this. No. So if a guy doesn't have it, or if a guy isn't trying, or if a guy keeps getting caught up with the referees, sit him. Just bench him. Sit him down. I've had enough of you. Now, if a guy's making some poor decisions out there, you can sit there and talk to him and say, hey, stop shooting this shot, stop making this play, whatever. And you can work within the framework of a game to say, hey, look, you're doing this, you keep doing this, let's get away from this. But if it's just a consistent kind of effort, bad attitude, whatever thing it is, bench him, sit him down, make sure that the message is sent. We are not going to tolerate this. Get on board. You got to get on board. We got to do this together. Get on board. The best teams, the champions, are the teams that have guys who are on board and working their asses off. It's almost without fail. Every once in a while, there's a fluke, but generally speaking, you think back to the Celtics and KG and how bought in he was. Whatever Doc said, well, I shouldn't say that because he really didn't want to leave a practice when Doc said leave a practice, but that's kind of a funny story. But the point is that he bought into what Doc was saying. Like Giannis bought into what Budenholzer is saying. Like these guys who are buying in are, okay, LeBron is a little bit of an exception because he's whatever. He's LeBron, and it's a little bit different. But these guys are buying into the coach and allowing the coach to coach them. This has to happen in Boston. It absolutely has to happen in Boston. It cannot. This is not going to work if these guys keep doing this. If these guys can go out there and keep thinking that they're going to screw around with what they believe are lesser opponents, then this is just not going to work. And we're going to be frustrated with a team that's good, but not good enough. And so, look, this is an evaluation season for everybody. And it's going to be an evaluation season for Tatum and Brown. And if you can't handle being the leaders, and if you can't handle the workload, and if you're going to go out there thinking like, oh, yeah, no problem, I got this, and screwing around and losing, then you gotta get somebody else in here that can work as your number one or your number two, because these guys aren't going to be able to handle it. This habit has to stop. It absolutely has to stop. And this is a critical moment in the early development of Ime Udoka as a head coach. How do you stop this bad habit? How do you get in there and say, hey, time to like everybody snap out of this? And it's not a very it's not an edict like I'm the coach and you listen to me. It's a I'm the coach. Let's get on the same page and everybody just try. I'm going to get into the Jaylen Brown stuff next because Ime did say something very interesting about Jaylen and the pattern that he's in the early part of this season. I'm going to talk about that after I talk to you about Postmates. Postmates is where I get all my favorite food from. Very easy because a lot of the local restaurants around me don't deliver. So I got to go through Postmates, and it's very easy because I don't have to leave the house. I don't have to get into the car. I don't have to find a parking spot. I'm sitting here working. I'm getting my podcast ready. I don't have time to get up and go and drive around and do whatever. I want my food. So I go to Postmates. It's not all about burritos and sushi. I can also order things like toothpaste or phone charger. That's amazing because when you go to a place like Walgreens or 7-Eleven, which are on Postmates, every so often you forget to run that errand and you can say, oh, I can Postmates myself some toothpaste. Really comes in a pinch. The best part, the app lets me know when my food or items have been delivered. Everything's right outside my door, so that never gets old. Download Postmates on iOS or Android. Find your favorite foods or that one thing that you forgot to get from the store. Get it delivered on demand. For a limited time, Postmates is giving our listeners a little something. New customers will get 50% off your first 5 orders and of $50 or more when you use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get 50% off your first 5 orders of $50 or more. Maximum savings here is $100 per order. Just download the Postmates app and sign up online. It's super easy. This offer is subject to change and taxes and fees apply. Offer is valid for 30 days after you add the promo code to your account. I also have to talk to you about SweatBlock, which is the best antiperspirant solution to the excessive perspiration problem that many of us have. It's very easy to apply. You take your shower. It's a wipe. You wipe it on your problem areas, wherever the area is, by the way. Doesn't matter. Wherever it is, it works. It's fine. When you wake up in the morning, you wash it off, and it works for up to 7 days. Some people actually have it work for a couple more. Other people have it work for a couple less, but generally in that 7-day range. So if you're like the high school teacher who listened to us, who used to have to take an extra shirt to class to change at the 4th period, nope, no thanks. You don't have to do that. One shirt, you can wear whatever you want with confidence, whatever color, whatever style, you can wear that with the confidence that you're going to come out dry. There's a dry shirt guarantee. If for some reason it doesn't work, you can go and return it for all of your money back. A doctor had this problem and created this product to solve his problem. So go to sweatblock.com, use the promo code LOCKEDON. You're going to get 20% off. Again, if it doesn't work, you get your money back, but you can have it work for up to 7 days. The promo code is locked on at sweatblock.com for 20% off, or picks them up at Amazon or CVS. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Why not make Locked On Fantasy your second listen every day? If you've got a fantasy basketball team, Josh Lloyd will help you win your league. He's that good. So check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball on a daily basis on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. So Jaylen Brown, I asked Ime about Jaylen Brown's pattern, where he was great in New York, double overtime game, sucked against Toronto a couple days later. He then missed the game, was great in Charlotte, overtime game, comes back, sucked against the Wizards. And so I asked Ime about that, and he says, it's a tough one. I see it as well. I'm trying to ramp him up during the game, pump him up, get him going. But the contrast of some of those previous games, especially Charlotte and the New York game, and the way you see him come out tonight is kind of mind-boggling. It can be a number of things. He was out for 10 days, like you mentioned, and was banged up with the knee. But he's just got to find the juice from the start. It's something that I can help him with, put him in positions to get going. But when I see that, I have to jump on it early and help him get going. So much there. Starting with the way you see him come out tonight is kind of mind-boggling. And it comes off as a kind of a dig at Jaylen, and I don't know if it was intended as like a direct dig at him, but it shows you that he doesn't understand what's going on. So he says, yeah, he was out for 10 days and he was banged up, but if it was the knee, they'd know. I think it was the knee. It could be COVID. It very easily could be simple. Jaylen had COVID. He went out there, played a double overtime game, too many minutes, and struggled to recover. And after COVID, it takes you longer to recover from something like that. Can't quite get your breath the next time you're out there exercising. Certainly very possible that that's the case. So I'm not sitting here talking in this segment about Jaylen in an overly critical way. This is a little separate from everything else. But there is this element of bad Jaylen from the past where when things like this happen, he tends to get into his own head. And it's a habit that had been broken over the past year or two. Early on in his career, you would have long stretches of the game where it's very obvious that he has been checked out. And that's when he would get cut backdoor. You'd give those up like 2 or 3 times. It was very clear Jaylen was thinking out on the floor, and you had to snap him out of it somehow. He doesn't do that much anymore. I have barely seen it. So it's a habit that he had broken. Now, in the Toronto game, I went back and I looked at that, and he was just not present. He was not there. And I think he was very much impacted by the double overtime. He was very sore. I think the knee was bothering him. I do think the COVID was bothering him a little bit, the recovery. So this could be a very similar extension of that. But the quote from Ime does show like he's kind of confused by this. I mean, he says it's kind of mind-boggling. He's confused by the dichotomy, the absolute, wow, Jaylen is awesome. This guy's going to be an all-NBA player. Or, geez, Jaylen looks terrible. We should trade him for spare parts before Philly trades Ben Simmons for spare parts, which I'm obviously exaggerating there. I do not want to trade Jaylen Brown. I'm joking. I'm just making a comparison to how good and bad he's been. This is another thing that the Celtics have had to deal with. And it's very interesting to me that Ime says, he has to, this last line, it's something that I can help him with, put him in positions to get going when I see that I have to jump on it early and help him get going. This is an early recognition from Ime that's like, Jaylen needs the help right away. Jaylen needs to be helped like immediately. And if he's not helped immediately, we risk losing him for the whole game. Now, I don't know, again, the extent of what this is with Jaylen. He'd probably come out on Saturday and have 35. Very easily could. Hopefully it's not another overtime game. Would like to avoid that, that pattern. But to hear Ime talk about, I've got to step up and make sure I'm calling things for Jaylen. That's something that strikes me. It's an important thing to file away, because as much as this could simply be a matter of tough COVID recovery, it's also a matter of, hey, we just went through 2 overtime games, and Jaylen was awesome, but at the same time, Jason got the last shot. Jason's the one who's getting the touches, the majority of the touches down the stretch, and it's like, hey, what do I need to do? And it's not. I'm not making this a Jaylen versus Jason thing. Like, it's not about those two or anything like that, but it's more about Jaylen is a star, and hey, I would like to get some touches down the stretch so I can share some of the burden, and we can't have me turn into stand in the corner and watch Jason Tatum when the game is on the line, because he thinks more highly of himself. It's not that he's jealous or anything like that of Jason Tatum. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that Jaylen is prideful and thinks like, hey, I belong in this. Like, it's the fourth quarter. That's, the Lakers have LeBron and AD. In the fourth quarter, sometimes Anthony Davis gets the ball. In the fourth quarter, sometimes James Harden, Kyrie Irving get the ball instead of Kevin Durant. In the fourth quarter of games, Jaylen Brown should get the ball at the same time. Like, he should get his touches too. I don't know. I'm guessing here if that's going to be the case or not. But it is, at this point, I don't know what it is, because it could be fatigue. It could be mental. It's interesting that Ime says the way you see him come out tonight is kind of mind-boggling, and that he feels the need to jump on it early to help him get going. File that away too, because we're watching for patterns, and so far, this has been a pattern. We'll see how it continues. Now, I will be in Washington for the game on Saturday, so I will be hopefully I'll be able to record a podcast from there. I'll be back tomorrow to wrap up the week and look ahead to that game. I'll rewatch some of this game here and see if I can come up with some, because I really didn't talk about the game. I didn't talk about the good stuff. Like, Al Horford had a good game. Rob Williams had a good game. Robert Williams is feasting on the offensive rebounds. But the biggest story here is not even about what happened in the game. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll get into Marcus Smart. I understand he had a bad game overall. It was an interesting kind of sandwiched bad, very bad around the middle of very good. But today it's just more about this problem that the Celtics keep having. So I'll talk about it all. Make sure you're subscribed. It's a Monday through Friday show. Subscribe on YouTube. That's super important for me. Really want to get those YouTube numbers up. That would be very, very helpful. And share the podcast whenever you have an opportunity to tell a friend, tell a loved one that they should be listening to Something Celtics. Tell them it's the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network.